Johann Lamont.
I've always told my children it's not growing up just to cross your fingers and hope for the best. It's not growing up for the First Minister to be incapable to argue for something he has believed for 40 years, never mind a script. He can't answer basic questions about simple economics in an independent Scotland. So, we know he hasn't asked the question about the MPC, he hasn't asked the question about banker of last resort. If the First Minister gets his way, we're fewer than 4 years away from leaving the UK. Yet, on a wing and a prayer, yet on the currency, on our interest rates, on how much we'd be able to spend, how much we could borrow, how much tax we could raise, he has done nothing. He asserts that an independent Scotland could rely on the Bank of England, but he hasn't even asked them. It's just meaningless assertion after meaningless assertion. If he wants the Bank of England to back a separate Scotland, why doesn't he at least ask them what they're willing to do?
First Minister.
I'm answering and giving an explanation of what I believe the position would be. I'm not responsible for Johann Lamont not being able to ask the right questions. I'm answering questions as being able. I've set out the context of monetary policy and how it's administered. I've set out the shape of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of England. I've pointed out to Johann Lamont that the Bank of England has been an independent bank since 1997 to give it freedom from political determination. I've set out the reasons why it wouldn't just be to Scotland's advantage but to the rest of the UK's advantage to have the sterling zone that we propose. If I could... Sterling zone is a matter which is well understood in terms of currencies and politics. I don't know why the Labour Party should find such a simple explanation. So it's revealing about the Labour Party's attitude. The advantage for Scotland would be it's a reasonable proposition in the current circumstances to see it to Scotland's advantage to have the sterling zone. It's of substantial advantage to the rest of the United Kingdom because of the protection that Scottish resources will give the balance of payments. Now, under these circumstances, why is that not our proposition that we should put to the Scottish people? As Johann Lamont knows, we publish a white paper next year given the independence proposition, and I'll be delighted to take her forecast on the timescale for Scottish independence. Whether she should throw in the deck at this stage or whether she should wait for the 4 years, 4 years sounds fine to me, and I think it will sound fine to the people of Scotland.
Miss Lamont.
I didn't realise that there was a right question I could ask the First Minister. Given that the only right question his backbenchers are allowed to ask is, just how good are you, First Minister? This is a serious issue. And given the response today from the First Minister, no wonder the First Minister flopped at the box office last Friday. No wonder his deputy bummed on the TV on Sunday night. And no wonder this week some of supporters have started backing away from independence. If he is going to put the country through another 2.5 years of this constitutional quagmire, he at least could do some work so his words had some meaning. When will the First Minister realise that just because he says something doesn't make it true?
First Minister.
The proposition we put forward in the White Paper next year, the timescale for the referendum that we've set out. I am interested in Johann Lamont's belief that the independence campaign will lack the strength and vigour of the Tory-Labour alliance which is going to be put forward against it. The Secret Six who met in Alistair Darling's home when I was a child occasionally I read Ian Blyton's books on the Secret Seven, so no doubt the Secret Six is something very similar. I think the Labour-Tory alliance, constrained against independence, which we see so well displayed in this chamber, will be limited in numbers, limited in enthusiasm, but above all limited in its ambition that it has for the people of Scotland. I know that Johann Lamont these days is taking to speak on behalf of the people of Scotland. Maybe she should just go through the precaution of trying to get herself elected first before she takes on that presumption.